Thank you, Giuseppe, for the introduction. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. As said by Giuseppe, I'm going to speak about ground-based synthetic aperture radar. I come from CTTC, which is a public research center located in Castelldefels, Barcelona. In our group at CTTC, we work on both satellite synthetic aperture radar, satellite SAR, and also terrestrial SAR, which is this ground-based. We think that these two techniques complement each other. We can imagine to use the satellite to get the overview of all the deformation phenomena that occurs in a given area. In this example is the metropolitan area of Barcelona. And this is a velocity map. Green indicates no movements, and then there are several deformation areas, for instance, in the airport of Barcelona, in the port of Barcelona, in the valleys, Cim de Vallès, Santa Perpetua, etc., etc. So there are, in fact, there are dozens or hundreds of deformation phenomena. We get this synoptic view from satellite, and then, if needed, we can focus locally using ground-based SAR. Locally, as I will explain later, we can cover less than 1 square kilometer, so it is a much limited area with respect to the satellite capability, but we are able to follow in detail the temporal evolution of the deformation. If with the satellite it comes to the same area with a distance of some days to weeks, in the ground-based, we can follow a deformation phenomena with acquisition every a couple of minutes. So with a much more detailed view. Well, by the way, this type of product covering the entire Barcelona is ongoing a project to generate this type of product for the entire Europe. This project is ongoing, and the delivery of the first product will be in 2022, so in 1 year time from now. So let's go back to the deformation measurement. Let's see some fundamental. How does it work, the ground-based SAR? By the way, this is an example. This is the instrument from IDS, but Pisa, Italy. There is a yellow box, which is the radar head, which has 2 antennas, one to transmit and one to receive. And then there is a rail where the acquisition is done. There is one acquisition of the radar, a displacement along the rail, another acquisition, a displacement, etc. The rail is about 1 meter and 80 centimeters. In addition to these 2 components, there is one component for the battery and a laptop to control the data acquisition. What I am going to say and to show is not strictly dependent on the type of instrument. There are different types of instruments. And then coming from academic organizations. Well, what is the principle? The principle to measure deformation, we exploit the phase of the signal. We send a signal, and of this signal, these are microwaves, we measure the phase. So let's assume to have a given object, P. We put our radar in front of this object, we send the microwaves, and we measure a phase which is directly related to the distance M to P. M is the position of the radar. Let's assume we have a displacement, D. So we have the object in position P1. We need to come again with the radar. We send the microwaves, we measure the phase, and in this case, the phase is related to the distance S to P1. If we make the difference of the phases, which is the so-called interferometric phase, we have an observable, something that we can measure, which is directly related to the difference of the distance, that is to say, to the displacement d. So from the interferometric phase, we are able to derive the displacement d of the object. I have two comments on this. The first comment is the continuous versus the discontinuous ground-based SAR. The continuous SAR, the instrument is put in front of the object, in front of the deformation phenomenon permanently, and acquires with a given regularity, which can be, say, as every 2 minutes, every 5 minutes, etc. The instrument is dedicated to a single deformation phenomenon. While in the discontinuous GBSAR, we use the instrument like we usually use most of the topographic instrumentation. That is, we go inside, we install, we make the measurements, we disinstall, we go home, and we come back to the same site after a while, weeks, months, etc. It depends on the cinematics of the object that I am observing. Okay? In the second case, of course, we are able to use the same instrument to monitor different deformation phenomena. So it is of course, an interesting application. We will see later the consequences of this. The second comment is that all these quantities, the phases and the distances and the displacement are all measured in the so-called line of sight of the radar, which is the line that connects the radar with the target at hand. So this is a characteristic of this instrument. This instrument is only capable to measure deformation in the so-called line of sight. So given a three-dimensional deformation, every deformation is three-dimensional, say in general, we can measure only the projection of this three-dimensional deformation in the radar line of sight. Good. So in the ideal case, we have said that the interferometric phase, the difference of phases, is directly related to a component, a deformation component. In fact, this is just an ideal case useful to explain the basic concept. In the real case, there are other components. There is a geometric component related to the positioning and repositioning of the object, if any, the deformation as seen before. The atmospheric component, because our microwaves cross a part of the troposphere, and in particular a very turbulent part of the troposphere, which is the lowest part of the troposphere. So there are effects on our measurements, atmospheric phase, and then there is the phase noise. To be more precise, we have the geometric effect, we have the deformation and the acquisition S, which is the secondary acquisition, the deformation at the first acquisition, the atmospheric at the second acquisition, minus the atmospheric of the first acquisition, plus the noise. What does it mean? That given our observable, what we observe is the interferometric phase, we have to do some work, some processing, some data analysis to separate, to extract the deformation information from the other components. I show you an example of the coverage that we can get from this instrumentation. This is a data acquisition in Barcelona, taken from the Turó de la Rovira, looking at the Sagrada Familia and a portion of the Champla. The instrument we have, at least our version, I don't know now if the new version have different characteristics, is a maximum range of 4 kilometers, as an aperture that is roughly 30 degrees. In range measures up to 50 centimeters per pixel in range, while in azimuth it has a resolution which is 4.4 milliradians. Is a resolution which decreases with the distance, and at 1 kilometer, the pixel size is 4.4 meters. This is just to give an idea of the geometry of the instrument. What is also interesting on this instrument is the precision, is the sensitivity to the deformation. I show you just a simple example with the corner reflector here moved by a micrometer. So we impose the deformation. This is a plot with the displacement. This is the measured number, which could be also time. We have the reference measurement coming from micrometer, a very precise instrument. We have the displacement measured by GBSAR, and we have the difference, just to see better the difference. This is the same. The difference are between minus 0.3 up to 0.2 millimeters. So there is a quite high sensitivity to displacement. We are in the region of one single millimeter. Okay. In fact, then this could be a more complex discussion. It depends on the quality of the targets, etc. But in good conditions, this technique can measure the single small millimeter. I have a remark on the phase noise component. We have seen here the equation, and this is the last term, which could be the last and the least. The reminder, it is not the case. It is not the case. The phase noise has a very important role in this application. I show you here a scheme which is true for satellite data, but the concept is the same. We send the microwave, which arrives on the ground, and we have a strong response from the building, from the balcony of the building, etc., while we get some weaker response from the grass and from the tree. This is winter, there are no leaves. Okay? If we come back in spring, the vegetation is much stronger, so we get a much more stronger response from the grass, from the tree, etc., and we get the same strong response from the balcony and from the building. Well, interferometry works well, or very well, with objects like this man-made object, like this building, where the response to the radar is constant over time. While on the left, we have vegetated and forested objects where the response can change very much from one acquisition to the other. Over such objects, the component noise, the noise component, can be very, very big. In fact, can be dominating and can prevent to measure the deformation. Okay, so it's very important, this concept. I will show you an example with real data. This is the highway from Terrassa to Manresa. There is a landslide, quite big landslide. There is a wall, a stone wall to contain this terrain movement. We installed the instrument on the opposite side of the highway, looking at this landslide. This is we have the photographs on the bottom, and on the top we have just a representation of the same area where this light green color indicates the points that are available over this area if the acquisition are separated by hours. Okay, so if the same day we are acquiring data over this object, we get a very nice coverage, a very dense coverage, which is useful to make a full characterization of this object. Well, what happens if we do the so-called discontinuous GVSAR? So we come after, for instance, 1 month. After 1 month, this is the situation. We have the same object, but in this case, the measurement point, these light green points, are basically clustered in the stone wall and in a few other locations in the landslide body. But of course, we are losing the complete coverage of the landslide. What is the reason? It is why, because in 1 month's time, the role of the noise is dominant in the great majority of the pixels that we are measuring. In this specific case, we decided to stop the monitoring using the ground-based SAR. Well, now I am going to show you 3 application cases. The first one is based on continuous monitoring. So the instrument installed in front of the object. It concerns a landslide located in Formigal in the Spanish Pyrenees. This is the study area. There was a set of landslides that were reactivated by the cut provoked by the construction of a parking area for a ski resort in Formigal. We were there with different instrumentation, basically a terrestrial laser scanner. We made 3 campaigns, a continuous ground-based SAR campaign from October to November 2006, and another topographic instrumentation, total station and GPS. This was done in the framework of a project called Galahad, a European project of the 5th framework program. Well, let's focus on this part of the landslide. First, I show you just briefly the results with the terrestrial laser scanning. We were on the opposite side of the valley, acquiring this data. This is the intensity image of the laser scanner. You can see here the distance is acquiring up to 800 meters, more or less. What is interesting is to see the next slide, which shows in red the area where the response of the object to the instrument is too weak to be considered reliable. So the red points are points where there is no measurement available. The good points represent, however, the 60% of the total in this case. This was a scan in July. In October, we came back. We measured the same. This is the intensity. This is the same representation. In this case, only 36% of the points which are basically located in the close range. In the close range, give a good measurement. But our landslide was basically located in this area. We were not able to estimate the deformation using terrestrial laser scanning. Thanks God, we were planning to use also another instrumentation, which is the radar. The radar was installed in this position in front of the landslide. This is a part of the installation using a helicopter. This was the instrument. This instrument was an experimental radar of the University of Florence. It works in C-band. You can see here the antennas, and you can see the rail, which is 1.8 meters. Well, this instrument installed here was acquiring continuously, in fact, one acquisition every 30 minutes, for 1 month and a half, looking at the landslide. This is the results of just a representation of the results. This is started on the 5th of October. This is the coverage of the measurement, where there are colors, in this case green, because it's zero the displacement at the beginning, is the coverage of the deformation measurements. This is the 5th of October, 17th of October, 27th of October, 6th of November, 15th of November, 17th, 19th, 21st of November. And this was the end of the campaign. It was possible, as you can see, to measure one area which is moving with displacement up to 9 centimeters in 1.5 months. Okay, the maximum distance in this case was 1,300 meters. This is just a two-dimensional representation of the moment. Of course, for any measured point, we have the entire time history, so the time series of the deformation. This is an example of a point located at 550 meters, starting from 0, is going up to, in this case, 6.3 centimeters in this example. What was strange for us after this experiment was to discover that the deformation is practically very linear. So we were using an instrument which is quite expensive, measuring every half an hour to estimate at the very end a deformation which is basically linear. This was a bit disappointing, but this is not due to the processing. This is really the physics or the cinematics of this landslide. Good. This is an example with continuous, I said. Let's move to the other one. The other example is a discontinuous GBSAR measurement in a landslide located in Canillo, Andorra. This is the area. This is Canillo. This is there are a lot of buildings everywhere, so we are for sure in Andorra. This is the area of interest. To be more precise, the area is that one indicated by the ellipse, the blue ellipse. As you can see, it is basically a vegetated area and forested area. So, as I said earlier, in vegetated and forested area, we usually expect no good deformation measurements. Okay, so what we can do? We were interested in this area and not in another area, so we decided, and we were planning to do discontinuous GBSAR and not continuous GBSAR for organizational issues, say, and so we decided to deploy corner reflectors. Corner reflector like this one. This is really a homemade corner reflector. This is a metallic plates organized to make a triedral, which has a nice response to the microwaves. Okay, so you transform a point which is not measurable because of the vegetation in a good measurement point using such devices. This is another device over the same area. This is the location of the different corner reflectors. There were 15 corner reflectors in this area. We did 3 campaigns separated by 22 and 35 days, so quite short revisiting time. This is an example of results. In green, basically stable area, but you can recognize several corner reflectors that show deformation in the area of interest. This is already an interpretation of the data with the big landslide of Forn And this is a kind of sub-landslide that we were measuring, and then an area with cracks on the top. The displacement can be seen also in as a time series. Of course, with 3 campaigns, we have just 3 points in the time series. These are the points on the top with deformation up to 6-7 millimeters in these 22 plus 35 days. This is the most active area with the displacement up to 13 millimeters. 1 point, this one was basically stable, and it is outside the sub landslide. And finally, the corner reflector on the bottom of the area, right? Well, let's say a discontinuous GBSAR case that worked well because of the deployment of corner reflector. Note that the corner reflector were installed and uninstalled at every campaign, okay? In order to have the least impact on the environment. Of course, in other applications, it is possible to install the corner reflector, so they remain all the time installed, and so it is just a question of installing and reinstalling the instrument, not also the corner reflector. But in this case, we were also reinstalling the corner reflector. Let's see another example. This example is again a discontinuous GBSAR. It concerns Barberà de la Conca, which is a small town in South Catalonia, in the province of Tarragona. In this town, some years ago already, appeared some important cracks in the building, also affecting the church, which is an historical building. We went there. We decided to install our radar outside the small town in the countryside, and this was the geometry more or less at half a kilometer from the town center, say. Okay, these are the parameters of the acquisition. This is already the displacement map between 14 November and 19 December of the first year of measurement. This was not useful to detect any displacement. So in 1 month, were not detecting basically displacement, but we were verifying that it was possible to make a discontinuous GBSAR with observing urban area, okay? In this case, we were not deploying any corner reflector. And this is the results obtained from November up to May of the second year. So with almost 6 months separation, was very clear the behavior of the deformation. There is a deformation area which goes in the direction, this is the red area, which goes in the direction of the radar, with the displacement up to 11 millimeters in this case, in these 3 campaigns. And then, interesting enough, an area which is in blue, which is going in the opposite direction. So is going away from the radar with less deformation up to 6 millimeters, but moving 1 part toward the radar, 1 part away from the radar. Good to say that we consider this a good example of application, and what was key for the success of the measurement is observing a urban area. So observing buildings that respond well to the microwaves, so we can measure the displacement even with several months of separation between the campaigns. Good. See some example. I have one remark. When we have seen the equation at the beginning, I omitted to comment that what we observe, that are the interferometric phases, are so-called wrapped values. What does wrapped mean? If we imagine to observe something continuous, like this object, okay, a section of this object is seen here on the left. We observe something which could be something like a hill, okay, a continuous variation of a given variable. If we think to observe something like this with the radar, we do not obtain such a shape of the observation, but we obtain something like this. And this is the same object seen by the radar. Every time that the phase arrives to 3.14, so to pi, jumps to minus pi, and then again to pi, and jumps to minus pi. So what we can say is that the observations coming from the radar are ambiguous, okay? From this observation, from what we get from the radar, we have to estimate the jumps that you can see here in this profile. We have to estimate all the jumps in order to reconstruct correctly the correct profile, which is this one. Okay. What is the implication? Now I'm showing an example which can be a bit alarm, but in the extreme case, if I observe one single point with the GBSAR, let's assume I am observing here a point. The scale here from one line to the other line is just 2 millimeters. So I am observing some deformation. Each point is an acquisition, okay? I follow this without any problem, but in a moment, I have a bigger deformation, okay? Depending how big is the true deformation of the object, I can be able to follow, okay? And I can assume that my deformation is making this jump, and then is making is small deformation over time. But due to the rapid nature of the data, the solution could be the yellow one, which is in fact the blue one shifted by 2 pi, okay? Or it can be the purple solution, which is the blue solution shifted by minus 2 pi, okay? With interferometry, both terrestrial and satellite, we have such dilemmas sometimes, okay? I insist, especially if this point is isolated spatially, okay? Usually we don't have such a critical situation because we have several points measuring a given area, so we can make use of these several points in order to make the estimation. So, but this risk of so-called aliasing of phase ambiguity is present in ground-based SAR, especially in the discontinuous GBSAR. When I wait weeks or months or years to revisit the same site. To resolve this problem, we have proposed some years ago to implement a non-interferometric GBSAR. I will just mention rapidly what is this, okay? Basically is a technique working with discontinuous measurements, and which is aliasing free, so which works with big deformation phenomena, centimetric, decimetric, or metric. I come back, sorry, to when I forgot to say. This risk of aliasing increases with the increase of the deformation. If the deformation are very big, the risk of aliasing is bigger, okay? I come back to the non-interferometric. Non-interferometric means that we are not using the phase. The procedure is the typical discontinuous, so first campaign, repositioning, second campaign, etc., etc. What is the idea in this case? Is the estimation method is basically image matching, okay? So image matching means finding the homologous point of a given point in another session. I show you an example here. What is the idea? We use the amplitude of the radar. And this is the amplitude of the radar. We have here a target point, P, making a zoom. This is the position of the point. We are acquiring at time t0. And then we have a second acquisition at time t1, where I have a point P1, making the zoom. The P1 is here. The idea is that if I am able to measure the displacement between P and P1, I am able to estimate the deformation of this object, okay? And this is done with image matching technique, of course, automatically, and with the sub-pixel accuracy. Advantages, basically, it provides aliasing-free displacement, so there is no risk of phase unwrapping. The measurements are two-dimensional. I can measure in range and cross range, not only in the line of sight. What are the drawbacks? The drawbacks is that basically the technique work using corner reflectors, okay? It does not work. I don't have enough image matching quality with natural targets usually, but I need to deploy corner reflectors. And the second drawback is that the precision is lower than with interferometry. We have said that in interferometry, we are in the region of a small millimeter. In this case, we are in the region of sub-centimetric precision. An example, fast, Valsebra, different corner reflector installed between February and April, between February and May, February and July, February and September, time series of the deformation. We are observing in this case displacement up to 40 centimeters. Such a displacement wouldn't be observable by classical interferometry, only making a lot of campaign. Okay, and here with just 4 campaigns was possible to estimate this deformation. Also, just to mention that we made the validation exercise and we estimate a precision which is in the order of sub-centimeter precision. So these are experiments at 1.6 kilometer distance, and we get sub-centimetric precision with this technique. Well, with this technique, I basically conclude my presentation. To really conclude, I would like to say simply that we are a public research center, and we are very open to collaborate with the research center, university, or company in this field. Okay, and really to close, I have. Okay, so for questions, if you have a posteriori question, this is my email, and I propose some reading. The first one is a review of ground-based interferometry by Montserrat et al. And the second one is a review of SAR interferometry from satellite. Is Crosetto et al. Okay? Thank you for your attention.